to show you how to make wonderful cheesy biscuits from your homemade baking mix. So here is the baking mix that we made, and it has flour, salt, baking powder, and lard in it. And we've already made some biscuits that were plain just by taking 2 cups of mix and 3/4 of a cup of milk. This time I'm going to make the same biscuits, but I'm also going to put some cheese in because I love cheesy biscuits, and the nutritional value increases so much when you add extra protein like dairy protein and cheese. So I'm taking 2 cups of the mix in my bowl, and I'm going to take up to 1 cup of grated cheese, and I'm going to put that in the bowl too, and I'm going to mix it around a bit to make sure all of that cheese is covered with flour. So I'm mixing it in here just to get it all coated before I add the milk, because it gets kind of crumbly when the milk comes in, and we want to make sure the cheese is well distributed. When you get it all covered with flour, it helps with that. So here is my measuring cup, and I need 3/4 of a cup of milk. There I go. And I also need a fork. It's something most of us have in our kitchens, and we can just reach for it. So I'm going to add the milk to the mixture. Stir it in just until it is combined. If you overmix biscuits, they can be tough. So I always try to make sure I don't overmix them. There it is. It's starting to come together now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of baking mix and put it on my counter, and then I'm going to dump this whole bowl full of mixture onto the counter, and I'm going to finish pulling the dough together there, because that'll help me flatten it out for cutting out biscuits too. So I'm going to scrape that last bit off of the fork, put it in there, and the rest of it I get to use my fingers. There we go. Get all of that out. Okay, there we go. So some of the dough's dry, some of it's sticky, some of it wants to stick to my fingers, but we'll just keep pulling it together and turning it over, and pulling it together and turning it over. And I think this is a little bit moist, so I'm going to take a little bit more of my baking mix and just put that in there and get that mixed in a little bit. There we go. If I rub my fingers together, it often gets the dough off too. So we'll do that and turn it. And what I'm doing when I'm turning it over like this is I'm actually creating layers. If you remember, there's fat in that baking mix, and when that gets squished flat and it bakes, that's where all the layers come out. So if you like to have flaky biscuits, this is the way to get the layers and the flakiness, is to, instead of stirring, fold it over like this until it's all together. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to squeeze it flat so that we can cut some biscuits out of this. Now, put the last off my fingers. It's always better to have the food in the oven than wash down the drain when you wash your hands. So there we go. All right, now my cookie cutter is here and my pan is here. So we'll put that right in front, and we'll start cutting. These are going to be really big biscuits. Oh my gosh, these are lunch-sized biscuits. Look at them. There we go. These are all coming up like that. So we're going to have 4 huge biscuits. You won't want to eat more than 1 of these at a time. And I'm going to pull that together into one more little patty that I can cut another biscuit from. There we go. There we go. They all pretty sticky this time. Must be more humidity around as we make them today. And this last one, my favorite, is always where you just pull it all together and you put one more biscuit on the pan that bakes up in whatever shape it is. And I always use that one as my testing biscuit because that's my reward for all this good work preparing a nice healthy food. So we're going to put those in the oven at 425 for about 15 minutes. So when we come back, we'll be pulling them out of the oven and you can see what they look like. So the timer went off at 12 minutes and they just looked a little shade underdone. So we've given them 1 or 2 more minutes. So these biscuits will have been in the oven for about 14 minutes. Let's see what they look like. Oh my gosh, look at those. Oh my. Can you imagine how good those are going to be to eat? Bon appetit.